I'm going to read to you something from my writing of this morning. And everybody knows that there's war going on right now, right? And that war, yeah, it doesn't happen by itself. It is people who make war and people who cause war and people who prevent war. Yeah, so you may have heard about. Have you heard of this guy, LeBron James? He is a great basketball player. Tall, black guy. He is incredibly good. I'll be never as good as he is. But it's a joy to watch him play basketball. And he all his shots at the hoop are going in. Great technique, but he's also a very tall guy. And so this guy, who is already coming of age also, and yet even in, I believe he's over 40 or so, and he still dominates the NBA, yeah. And that is the competition of basketball teams in the United States. And so I want to mention him to give you a little. No, sorry, I used that word again. I shouldn't be using a little, because my name is Maximus and that means the biggest. So, okay. I want to give you a comparison. I want to give you a contrast with what I'm saying. That's why I'm mentioning LeBron James, this incredible basketball player. I'm mentioning him because he is to basketball what I am to language. Yeah. And I mean this not in any exaggerated way. No. I mean this to make a point. He is the best. And that's why he dominates the NBA, even at this age. And people better listen to him because he is the big attention. Yeah, everybody wants to watch him. And his way of playing and his way of also organizing the game and is just fantastic. And so I'm just comparing his skill to my skill. And my skill is, it's nothing really, what is the skill of a guy that can, shoot a ball in a net? What is that skill? I'm asking you. Well, my skill is to listen to myself while I speak. And that skill has allowed me to continue with my embodied language, to explore my embodied language, to reason with my embodied language, and to figure out, in spite of the fact that everybody is engaging in disembodied language, to figure out that we've got it all wrong with language. Because in disembodied language, our usual way of talking, in which everybody unknowingly engages day in, day out, we're not listening to ourselves. We're listening to others, We're trying to get others to listen to us, but we're not listening to ourselves. So, I have embodied language. I listen to myself, and consequently, I don't care about listening to others. I don't care about your disembodied language where you make me listen to you. I don't care about your disembodied language in which, if I were to say something, I would have to make you listen to me. I don't care to do that. That's why I'm here in this empty creek bed, very quiet and peaceful at the edge of town. And here I'm speaking with you. This is how I want to speak with you. This is the only natural way of speaking. And of course, I listen to myself. Everybody who would feel peaceful and, not threatened, not in any competition with anybody, anybody would engage in embodied language. Just like me. And then, if we would talk like that, we would not be adversarial, we would not be making any war. But we don't talk like that. And mankind as a whole hasn't even discovered that this is a real possibility, that this is a necessity. Because if there's anything good in human relationship, it is because we already have something that is like this. But it is not this. We have already had, of course, experiences of embodied language, but we have never acquired it. We have never consciously pursued it because we have never acknowledged that there is a humongous difference between speaking and listening to yourself and speaking but not listening to yourself. Now, I'm going to read to you my writing. It's a very simple writing. Gotta unfold my paper here. Why are we more inclined to give agency to artificial intelligence than to ourselves? That's a question I want to put to you. Why is that? Well, obviously it is how we use our language. That's why. This is why we want AI to do for us what we cannot do for ourselves, or what we believe we cannot do for ourselves. Where does this whole idiotic, horrible fantasy of AI taking over actually come from? Because, that is of course another topic discussed everywhere. Oh, AI is going to take over. But where does it come from? Well, it comes from our way of talking, which was never working for us individually. No. Your way of talking that you are used to has never really worked for you as an individual. Because disembodied language, the way of talking in which you do not listen to yourself and in which you must listen to others, or you try to get others to listen to you, disembodied language cannot express your individually lived experience correctly. But what I have, embodied language, embodied language can express my individually lived experience very well. That's what I'm doing right now. So you need embodied language to express your own individually lived experience. You cannot be an individual without embodied language. And since you cannot be an individual with your disembodied language, you start fantasizing about inner stuff. It is just all nonsense. Your mind, your so-called thinking. So surely the future of mankind is not some technological advancement such as AI. Intriguing as that may be, yeah, because of course AI is fantastic and there's great potential for AI, don't get me wrong. And of course it's already doing wonderful things. But our ability, our skill, our actual experience of an interaction which works because we can be ourselves and we express our individually lived experience with our embodied language. Well, that is of course more important. The coherence of embodied language stands in stark contrast to the enormous chaos and conflict that is created and increased and escalated by our disembodied language. And that, ladies and gentlemen, that is the raging war that is going on. Without anyone being able to get to the real issue, language. And this is where my comparison with LeBron James comes in again. I know about languageology. I have, you could say, put together languageology, the science of spoken language, in which we as individuals are finally going to be able to express our individually lived experiences because we are listening to ourselves. Yes. And then we step out of our ancient group behavior. Yeah. Do you see this ancient Greek bed? We would step out of this ancient Greek bed. We would step out of our ancient conflicts between groups because we become finally satisfied, whole, healed, comfortable, cognizant, cognizant meaning expressive, verbal. We become verbal about our wholeness, our completeness as an individual. So, yes, my comparison with LeBron James is because I talk about the language of individual freedom, which as of yet is missing even in the United States, where individuals have freedoms as they have in so many other free Western democratic, social democratic countries. There is no sense of the difference between our usual way of talking disembodied language and embodied language. So, once again, it's not about politics, it's not about religion, it's not about economy, nationality, philosophy, ethnicity, or even science. It is about how human beings have engaged, ever since they became verbal creatures, in disembodied language. That's our ancient group behavior. Since, they have talked like this ever since they became verbal. Yeah. I myself too, of course, yeah. But somehow I have transcended that because I began to listen to myself and talk with myself and explore what it is like to continue with my embodied language. And to not, as everybody else is doing, because everybody else has an occasional moment of what, sort of resembles embodied language, but it's a haphazard thing. It's not a deliberate, skillful phenomenon. It is because they accidentally are in circumstances which are making embodied language possible. They don't create and maintain these circumstances in order to be able to have embodied language, like I do. Yeah. And of course, what I mean by that is to speak with yourself in order to be able to listen to yourself. Because if you do not speak in such a way that you like to hear what you say, you are not going to listen to yourself. That's why you don't listen. You sound horrible and you don't want to hear what you say. And I don't blame you. Okay. So, we have been engaging in this horrible group behavior, which is called disembodied language, ever since we became verbal. And so, if we understand and acknowledge the difference between our disembodied language and our embodied language, we find out, to our own surprise, that we've actually always preferred embodied language. Yeah. And so, and of course, that is because embodied language is voluntary and disembodied language is involuntary. You are on automatic pilot, as they say. Yeah, you were just conditioned to have disembodied language, and so you didn't even know that you could have embodied language. But now, when you know the difference, you prefer embodied language. Anyway, with embodied language, we are one with ourselves. But with disembodied language, we engage in the illusion of inner language. Yeah, you imagine that there's language inside of you. And then you imagine also that you are divided within you. Yeah, you have a conflict in your mind. And the belief in inner language, that is superimposed on your reality. So we superimpose our false belief in inner language on our reality, which inevitably is then split up also in an inner and in an outer environment, an internal environment and an external environment. Yeah. We also call that an endovironment and an ectovironment. Yeah, it's another word for it. All right, well, no, there is no inner and an external environment because you neurally behave your reality as an individual. And then, if you correctly express the way in which you neurally behave your individual reality, then you express your individually lived experience with your embodied language correctly. And then you experience your language enlightenment. So, this split between an internal and an external environment, the endo environment and the ecto environment, that occurs because of your illusion of inner language. How else could you have known about what you claim to know about? Everything you claim to know about yourself is false. Because it is based on your illusion of inner language. And when you listen to an expert like me and begin to verify what I say, because that is of course the only way in which listening to me makes any sense. If you begin to acknowledge the difference between your embodied language and your disembodied language, you know that what you knew or what you believed to know was based on, basically on unexpressed language, or not unexpressed language, because unexpressed language makes it still seem as if it is inside of you. No, there is no such thing as unexpressed language. There's only disembodied language and embodied language. And in embodied language, everything you're capable of saying is overt And there is no inner language. So, yes, when you have embodied language, you hit the hoop of happiness every time. Now, that's a nice end for this for this conversation, right? Bye.